Good afternoon. It was a record-breaking return for the Taste of the Danforth following a 2-year hiatus.
Organizers say well over 1 million people turned out to take in this street festival. Our Janice Golding joins us live now with more on the success of the event. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, it's a pretty quiet morning here on the Danforth right now. A far cry from what it looked like over the course of the weekend when organizers of the Taste of the Danforth say between 1.8 and 2 million people turned out to sample the popular street festival. Now, the popular Greektown Food Festival was on a 2-year hiatus, as you mentioned earlier. It was canceled in 2024 and 2025 due to financing issues, security costs, and logistical concerns involving things like bike lanes and expanded sidewalk patios. But it appears people were very much ready for the popular festival's return, with attendees packing the street. Over the course of 3 days, they were able to take in food from more than 100 restaurants and enjoy live music and interactive experiences. Organizers say they worked closely with emergency services and private security to ensure public safety, with Toronto Police also committing to step up security around major street festivals in the wake of a deadly mass shooting at the Salsa on St. Clair Festival last month. Now, we did speak to a number of people in the area who said they very much enjoyed the festival. They said that it wasn't too crowded. There were some lineups for food, however. We also spoke to a vendor. In fact, Billy Dertillis of Rocket Coffee told us today that he had a big boost to his business, that he said it went up about 200%, in fact, which was a really, really great weekend for him. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle.
Thank you, Janice. One person has been taken to hospital. Another person is in custody following a stabbing in Scarborough this morning. Police say it happened just before 8 a.m. inside an apartment in the area of Kingston Road and Lawrence Avenue East. The victim was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, while the suspect was arrested there at the scene. Meanwhile, one person has been arrested after a car struck a light pole in Scarborough. Police say it happened around 11 p.m. yesterday in the area of Kennedy and William Kitchen Road, just south of the 401. No injuries were reported, but the driver was taken into custody at the scene and is now facing impaired driving charges.
Police say an assault suspect has turned himself in. Investigators say 26-year-old Mohammed Yassin surrendered himself at 55 Division. He's accused of attacking someone in the area of Coxwell and Gerrard on Friday following an argument. Yassin was wanted on several charges, including 2 counts of assault and failing to comply with a release order.
Hamilton police are searching for suspects following a deadly stabbing over the weekend. The incident happened around 2:30 a.m. on Sunday on Main Street, west of Dundurn. The victim, a 21-year-old man, was found on the sidewalk by a taxi driver. He was rushed to hospital, where he later died. Police believe the victim was involved in an altercation before he was stabbed.
We do believe that there was an altercation in the area of King Street and Paradise Road. We do not believe the stabbing took place there. We do believe the stabbing took place where the victim was located. We're not really sure what took place between the altercation and the victim being located. That's something that we're still trying to sort through.
Investigators are asking anyone who might have information about this incident to come forward. Toronto Police, meantime, are launching a 2-week traffic safety enforcement campaign.
The initiative will be specifically focused on micromobility vehicles like bicycles and scooters and their electric counterparts. CP24's Steve Ryan has been following the story and joins us live now with more. Steve.
Yes, so with the increase in the usage of these micromobility vehicles, and given to date there are 514 collisions involving these rideables, including 2 fatalities, the Toronto Police are going to be exercising this education, awareness, and enforcement campaign starting today and going through until August the 24th. So the idea is to educate those who are using these micro vehicles as to how to use them, where to ride them, and where not to park them. There's been some concerns, according to police, with regards to these vehicles being used on sidewalks, on bicycle lanes, and they are parked during rush hour routes as well, which can cause some concern for emergency vehicles trying to get to locations in rush hour traffic. So as a result of all of this, there will be this 2-week campaign. Typically, it starts with education, warning, and then enforcement. And that's what the Toronto Police Traffic Services will be doing for the next 2 weeks as they continue to educate people. And we see the increase in the usage of these micro-mobility vehicles throughout the city. So we can expect to see officers interacting with users of these type of vehicles for the next couple of weeks moving forward. Again, educate about the rules, warn them, and then enforcement. That's how it's going to roll from here on in starting today. Send it back to you.
Thank you, Steve. There was an overnight fire at a plaza in the city's West End. Flames broke out around 3 a.m. at a building near Dufferin and Bloor. There was heavy smoke when firefighters arrived on scene, and residents were ordered to shelter in place. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. No injuries were reported.
The city of Mississauga has issued a warning about fraudulent events claiming to be in partnership with the city. The city says there are at least 2 Eventbrite listings for the International Conference on Leadership, Innovation, Global Investment and Professional Development. It says the online promotions for the events have falsely used the city's name and branding. The city is urging residents to research event organizers before booking tickets.
A former flight attendant from Toronto has pleaded guilty to wire fraud after allegedly posing as a commercial pilot to get hundreds of free flights. The U.S. Attorney's Office says 34-year-old Dallas Pokornik was arrested in Panama and extradited to the U.S. to face charges in Hawaii. The fraud lasted from January 2020 to October of 2024. A release says the accused used fake employee identification cards to access free flights on 3 separate airlines. Pokornik has agreed to pay restitution to their airlines as part of a plea agreement.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, the wildfires ravaging British Columbia have turned deadly. We'll have more on the situation over on the West Coast a little later in the newscast. Unifor, which represents more than 4,600 workers at General Motors facilities here in Ontario, is beginning negotiations with the automaker today.
The union recently reached a deal with Ford, which is set to serve as baseline for current contract talks. CTV's John Musselman has been following the talks and joins us live now with more. John.
Well, that's right, Andrea. They're hoping that will be a pattern agreement with GM. As you mentioned, they are beginning negotiations here at the downtown Sheridan. We'll show you some video that was shot just a short time ago. Some of the bargaining committee members with Unifor arriving at the Sheridan to meet with GM to start this process. We're talking about 4,600 GM employees. That's in Ingersoll, Oshawa, Woodstock, and St. Catharines, trying to reach a deal with the company. As we mentioned, Ford reached an agreement with Unifor last month, a 3% wage increase. They'll be looking for similar, as well as some job guarantees in Ontario. As well as that, they'll be looking at issues involving seniority and getting more work into the plant. We did get a statement from GM saying that, look, they want to reach a deal as well. They say they've invested $3.3 billion into operations in this country, and it is their goal to continue and secure jobs in Ontario. So we'll keep an eye on this. There is a news conference at 1 o'clock with Unifor. We'll get some idea of what they're looking for and what they're hoping to reach with GM. We'll have much more on this on CTV News at 5 and 6. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. The Ontario Liberal Party will hold the first debate of the 2026 leadership race tonight. Former leader Bonnie Crombie resigned in January and is now running for her former job as Mississauga mayor. The Liberals will select their next leader in November. There are currently 5 candidates running. They are former federal industry minister Navdeep Bains, Stephanie Bowman, and Lee Fairclough, who are both current Liberal MPPs. Finance and tech entrepreneur Eric Lombardi and longtime public servant Dylan Mirando are also seeking the party's top job. Now, according to sources, the Member of Parliament for Scarborough North, Sean Chen, will be stepping down. Chen was first elected in 2015. Sources tell CTV News he will leave office later this month because of health concerns linked to a car accident last fall. Before entering federal politics, Chen was a trustee and chair of the Toronto District School Board. This is the latest in a series of resignations from all parties. 3 by-elections are coming on August 31st, with several more yet to be called.
Opening day for the Hazel McCallion line in Peel is still a couple of years away, but the project is set to enter a new phase this week. Vehicle testing is due to begin this week for the LRT line. The province says the trial will happen on Top Flight Drive just off Huron-Ontario near Highway 407. The 18-kilometer LRT line along Huron-Ontario will connect Mississauga and Brampton. The Hazel McCallion line was originally set to open back in 2024, but is now expected to be completed in 2028.
There's an early nightly subway closure to be aware of this week on a portion of the TTC's Line 1 starting tonight and running through Thursday. Service will end at midnight between Lawrence West and St. George stations for track work. The TTC says that on Tuesday and Wednesday, trains will run until 1 a.m. to accommodate people leaving the Usher and Chris Brown concert at Rogers Stadium. Shuttle buses will run in place of trains during the closures, with a regular service scheduled to resume each morning at 6 a.m.
Time for a live look at the city on this Monday afternoon. It is definitely cloudy out there today as we embark on an all-new week in August, and unsettled conditions are on tap. Jessica Smith is here with all the details to help us navigate our day. What do we need to know, Jess?
Not a wash of a day, Michelle. The bulk of the heavy rain is going to be west and east of us, but we know it's a busy time. A lot of folks out and about, traveling, having some fun. So keep in mind, if you're going anywhere west or east of the city, that's where the heaviest rain is likely to be. It doesn't mean we're escaping it entirely in the downtown core, but we're not getting the bulk of the really heavy rain activity as the cold front makes its way through. We are looking at some storm warnings areas just east of us through Kingston, Bancroft, and out for our friends in Ottawa, but for the downtown core of the GTA, no alerts currently. Temperature-wise, we're already into that kind of low 20 range, but feeling into the 30s, and it stays hot and very humid as we head right throughout the day. Through the islands, through Pearson, we're sitting between 23, 25, but it already feels into the 30s, and we're not getting any relief as we head into the afternoon or evening. Tonight, dropping down to a low of 18. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. There is sunshine on the way, but for now, I will send things over to Andrea.
Thanks, Jess. We turn now to the wildfire situation in British Columbia, where an 80-year-old woman has died. She was trying to escape the Bald Range fire near Summerland. Penticton RCMP say the woman was trying to leave her home in Meadow Valley with a family member when she died. Another evacuee found her and reported her death in the early morning on Saturday. The RCMP believe her death was wildfire-related. British Columbia's coroner service is investigating. No other wildfire-related deaths have been reported.
And this death comes as more than 20,000 people are under evacuation orders near Lake Okanagan.
We lost everything. We lost our dogs. We couldn't get our dogs out in time. There's just nothing left at all. It's devastating.
Evacuation orders are in place across Summerland, which is home to around 12,000 people. Another 8,000 residents in and around Peachland have also been told to leave as the fire spreads along the western shore of the lake. The fire was first reported late on Friday and quickly exploded in size, burning through 50 square kilometers in just a few hours. CTV's Scott Hurst has been following the wildfire situation in BC, and he joins us live now with the latest. And up until now, the devastation horrible to look at, but fortunately no one had died, and now unfortunately, you know, these wildfires turning deadly.
Michelle, good afternoon. We've talked a lot this year about the impact wildfires have had on communities right across the country. We've talked a lot about evacuation orders and alerts, and we've talked a lot about communities being destroyed, homes and businesses being burnt to the ground. Unfortunately now, as you mentioned, having to talk about a death related to one of the latest wildfires flaring up in British Columbia. And as you mentioned, the woman being identified as a person in her 80s who was trying to flee the flames. As it stands right now, there are more than 100 active fires in the province of BC. Some 20,000 people from the Okanagan communities of Summerland, Peachland, and some surrounding areas are now out of their homes. You mentioned the Bald Range fire triggered a state of emergency in BC over the weekend, quickly upending the lives of so many residents. As you see this map here, which shows the wide-ranging impact of evacuation notices, several thousand more on evacuation alert, meaning they have to be ready to go at a moment's notice. The Bald Range fire continues to burn out of control on the western shore of Okanagan Lake. Now, in declaring the provincial state of emergency on Saturday, the British Columbia government said property losses are significant, though the full extent is still being assessed. Here's more from the mayor of Summerland, the community significantly impacted, and the Minister of Forests on what's being done to fight these fires and protect these communities.
Structures have been lost, people's homes have been lost. We don't know how many. It is still a fire that's out of control. They're still fighting it, so we're not able to go in and really take stock and do a proper accounting of the situation. But we do know people have lost homes, and it will be hard.
Without a doubt, we are facing some very serious challenges here in British Columbia with the current wildfire situation, and in particular, the challenging weekend right up until Friday evening, throughout the weekend for residents in the Okanagan. This new fire that we dealt with Friday evening was something like we've never seen before here in British Columbia. This fire grew from 50 hectares to over 1,000 hectares in just about an hour's time.
And Michelle, just to add on to what the mayor was saying in the clip that was just before that, really hard to tell at this point the sheer extent of the damage, but they can confirm that there are a significant amount of homes that have been lost in connection to one of these latest fires that has flared up in British Columbia.
Let's talk more about firefighting efforts. What are the biggest challenges facing all those firefighters right now?
The hot, dry conditions continue to be some of the biggest challenges, and it has been for several months now, as we are now in July and August, really the hottest and driest, typically, not just in many provinces, but specifically in this region of British Columbia, the Okanagan region. But then you couple that with lightning strikes. That has been a significant concern for quite some time now, and there are more expected in the days ahead, which continues to, you could see these flare-ups in a region that has received limited rain. So the high temperatures, the heightened wind gusts will continue in the Okanagan and southeastern regions of BC, which can increase fires and increase the ability for some of these fires to continue to grow. Specifically, the Bald Range fire, Michelle, that we've been talking about, it only flared up late Friday evening, and as we described, has already caused, burnt through so much land and caused so much destruction.
CTV's Scott Hurst with the update from the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Here in Ontario, the latest numbers show 156 wildfires are burning in the northern part of our province. 112 of those were in the northwest region. As of 7 o'clock last night, 12 deemed out of control. The Ministry of Natural Resources also says there were 3 new fires confirmed in the region. In the northeast, 2 new wildfires were confirmed as of 6:20 last night, and there were a total of 44 active blazes, with one of them not contained.
There's no opposition to a proposed pipeline which would run from Alberta to the British Columbia coast. The Union of British Columbia Indian Chiefs wants the federal and Alberta governments to pause efforts to build the West Coast pipeline. The union is citing concerns about climate change. The Chiefs also say Ottawa did not consult First Nations in good faith regarding the pipeline plan. The unemployment rate for young people in Canada has gone down for a 3rd straight month.
CTV's Kamal Karamali has more on what's behind the hiring surge.
In a place where everyone is always on the move, the biggest shift this summer at this Toronto trampoline park might just be how many teens are applying to work here.
We're seeing anywhere from 500 to 1,000 applicants just for one flight crew role.
Good job, good job. One of those was 17-year-old Abdul Qadir Saeed, part of a growing number of young people across Canada to land a job these past few months.
I showed my mom, I was shocked. I was like, no way I got hired here.
Youth unemployment rates continue to drop across the country. Take a look at last July's numbers for ages 15 to 24, dropping from 14.5% now down to 12.5% for this July. And for returning students, that's those who have summers off, going from 17.5% now down to just over 15%.
Youth unemployment is still very high. It's almost twice as high as the overall unemployment rate. but it's down significantly over the last few months, and it's certainly headed in the right direction.
Job experts say the initial shock from the U.S. trade war seems to be wearing off. Employers now feeling more confident in hiring youth after seeing the economy remain stable.
And what business wants more than anything is exactly that, is stability. Boring at times is good for business.
Especially in industries that employ a large share of young workers, like restaurants, retail, and summer tourism. We may now also be seeing the effects of Ottawa reducing permits for international students and temporary workers.
Those entry-level positions typically have been a bit more heavily weighted towards new Canadians.
But at this Toronto bike shop, you won't find many youth working here, a reminder that some businesses are still reeling from a shaky economy.
We've needed to shift our focus and actually support our full-time workers, allowing them to keep their positions year-round. And we've been hiring less youth.
Hoping to ride out the bumpy road ahead before opening more doors to new workers. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
The latest poll from Liaison Strategies shows the federal Liberals with a 13-point lead over the Conservatives. This is the Liberals' largest lead in the weekly federal tracker from Liaison since March. Among decided and leaning voters, the Liberals have 44% support, followed by the Conservatives at 31%. The NDP round out the top three with 13%. Liaison surveyed a random sample of just over 1,500 Canadians from July 26th to August 8th. The margin of error for this poll is plus or minus 2.5%, 19 times out of 20.
Canadian trade officials are back in Washington today as the clock counts down to August 19th. That's when new U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods are scheduled to take effect. Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and senior trade negotiators want Washington to back down on tariffs on a new list of Canadian products, including alcohol, dairy, and consumer goods. The government is also facing pressure domestically, with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre writing a letter to the Prime Minister telling him deliver on the good deal he promised Canadians. Poilievre is demanding a win-win deal, which includes the elimination of tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber, steel, aluminum, and cars. CTV's Michael Serapio has been following the latest on the trade talks and joins us now live from Ottawa. Michael, what can you tell us?
Hey, Andrea. Well, you know, you outlined a lot of the big topics already that are on the table between Canadian and U.S. negotiators. And really, when you look at what Canada is willing to do, really they're willing to address the irritants, the concerns that were raised by Donald Trump when he made the proclamation on this new tariff threat a couple of weeks ago. And to that, we are hearing from industry sources that Canada is looking at perhaps getting rid of the counter tariff on U.S.-made vehicles that are non-CUSMA compliant, working with the provinces, 8 out of 10, to get liquor and wine, U.S. liquor and wine, back onto Canadian store shelves, as well as other reports pointing to dairy, as you laid out. But Canada really is not going to lay down on this per se. Yes, they want to meet these trade irritants for Donald Trump, but there are these long-standing irritants that Canada has been trying to get Washington to address since, you know, Mark Carney was elected last April 2025. So really what they want in exchange for those addressing the three irritants is getting rid of the tariffs on steel, aluminum, cars, and lumber. And when you think about steel, just today we heard the Federal Transport Minister Steve McKinnon announce $100 million for steel companies, the announcement not surprisingly made in Hamilton, that would help subsidize these companies to get steel out to domestic producers, to help deal with what has been the economic impact of the tariffs that Donald Trump has already put on Canadian goods. So if all goes well, what we could see are the irritants addressed by Donald Trump being met by the Canadians, and in turn, the long-standing irritants that of U.S. tariffs on Canadian sectors will be addressed by Americans, but that's yet to be seen.
You know, Michael, we're speaking to people on the street all the time, and everyone says, you know, Canada should do this or Canada should not do that. And it's one thing for people to say it and to want it, but really, how much leverage does Canada have in these negotiations with President Trump?
Yeah, you know, it is a political tightrope at the end of the day for the Prime Minister, because you're right. There are surveys after surveys that show, you know, Canadians are fed up. They don't want Canada to be making so many concessions if Canada doesn't get anything in return. And so that's what the Prime Minister is dealing with. And while people may think Canada has zero leverage in this game, there is some leverage because, yes, the Americans are the larger economy, but Canada is still an important trading partner for the U.S. They need Canadian oil, gas, they need energy, electricity from Ontario. So there are things the Americans need. And beyond that, you know, Donald Trump would not be raising an issue around American booze if the ban here in Canada were not hurting producers in the United States. Also, with tourism, he's getting an earful from state representatives along the border who say because Canadians are traveling elsewhere, they are losing money, they are losing jobs. Not only the border states, California, Florida as well. And industry, even though these tariffs are meant to reshore industry back in the United States, it is costing car companies, computer companies, it's costing them billions of dollars to engage in this war, to be caught up in the middle of this war. So they want to see an end to this as well. So Canada has leverage in that it has goods the United States wants, but it also has politicians as allies. It has business leaders on allies. So when you ask how much does Canada have on its side, probably a lot more than Canadians actually realize, Andrea.
Okay, CTV's Michael Srapio reporting for us from Ottawa. Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
At least 47 people were killed in a powerful earthquake in Western Colombia today. Dozens of buildings collapsed in cities after the 7.4 magnitude quake struck the city's South American country. Now, there is an undetermined number of people injured. The epicenter was about 400 kilometers west of Bogota. Authorities say it was the highest magnitude quake registered in Colombia in the last decade. It was followed by 2 aftershocks. The initial quake was also felt in neighboring Ecuador.
Russian authorities say 13 people were killed in a Ukrainian attack today. 75 others were reportedly injured in the strike about 750 miles east of the Ukrainian border. The Russians say industrial and civilian targets were hit. Ukraine says it struck an oil refinery. The Ukrainians have stepped up their attacks on oil facilities in recent months in a campaign that has caused fuel shortages in many parts of Russia. But authorities say most of those initial problems have since been resolved. And in Ukraine, officials say at least 10 people were injured in a Russian overnight attack in Sumy. Strikes were reported across 3 locations. Large-scale missile attacks on Ukrainian cities have become more frequent in recent weeks. Moscow is exploiting Ukraine's critical shortage of interceptors for the U.S.-made Patriot system. It is the only air defense weapon in Ukraine's arsenal capable of shooting down ballistic missiles.
The UK and France are racing for their 5th heat wave of the season. The intense stretch of hot weather has contributed to major wildfires in several countries. In Spain, firefighters are battling multiple blazes. One that broke out Friday has burned over 8 square kilometers. More than 300 personnel and 21 aircraft were deployed to combat that wildfire. A separate blaze in a southern region has affected a similar-sized area since it started Thursday. Temperatures across Spain remain high, but some parts are expecting thunderstorms this afternoon that could bring strong winds.
Here at home, the Roar on the Lakeshore has been relocated to Markham. A pre-race celebration for the Ontario Honda Dealers Indy is being held this afternoon. There's the mayor there, pumped about the race coming to his city. Let's listen in live.
As over 150,000 people will come here over the course of the race weekend. I want to say a special thank you to our members of council that are here. We have Deputy Mayor Michael Chan. Welcome, Michael. Regional Councillor Jim Jones. Welcome, Jim. Regional Councillor Joe Lee. Welcome, Joe. Regional Councillor Alan Ho. Welcome, Alan. Ward 1 Councillor Keith Irish. Thanks, Keith. Ward 2 Councillor Rich Lau. Hi, Rich. Ward 3 Councillor Reed McAlpine. Over there. Ward 4 Councillor Karen Ray. Ward 5 Councillor and Chair of Destination Markham, and started the first conversations about getting Indy to Markham, Ward 5 Councillor Andrew Keys. Ward 6 Councillor Amanda Colucci. Ward 7 Councillor Namisha Patel. And Ward 8 Councillor, where is she? Issa Lee. Congratulations. Let's give a big hand to all of our council. Thank you for your great support. And I just want to say we are excited. And just to give you a very brief history, we started the conversation about getting Indy to come to the city of Markham back in January of last year. And I can tell you that the moment that we met and sat down with Green Savory, we knew that we had operators on the other side of the table that had some history with Indy races, that had the team to put a race together. And over the next several months, we talked about what that would look like here in the city of Markham. And I can tell you that we had to do a lot of work over a few short months. And I want to say a number of us gave up our summer last year, but that's okay, because that was well worth it. But I want to say a big thank you to our City Markham staff, and here's why. We started that discussion in January. We began a preliminary design of the track even before the agreement was signed. And in July, we had a signed agreement. There's no other city in Canada that could move that fast. In fact, I don't think there's many private sector organizations that could move that fast to get this done. And then once that agreement was signed, we did a big job in creating the double pit lane in the Unionville Go parking lot. There's less than a handful of races in North America that have a double pit lane. This is going to make for great television, and it also will make for a great experience for the fans that are there. And then this spring, they finished off all the other work that had to happen. So honestly, to all of our staff in the city of Markham, that I think are number one in Canada, I want them all just to raise their hand, and I say a big thank you.
You're listening to Markham Mayor Frank Scarpitti reveling in the culmination of a whole bunch of work. The inaugural Honda Dealers Indy is going to be in Markham this very week. It was in Toronto for decades, but we had a little something called the World Cup, so can't have it all here in the city. They're excited to be hosting this big event. Starts on Friday, the 14th to the 16th. We'll continue to cover this story, and we'll certainly be trackside when the action starts. But for now, let's get to our Jess Smith. Are they going to have nice weather?
It'll be hot and humid for the racers and for the people going to watch. So keep that in mind. Hydration is going to be key. As we head into our evening, more warm weather. We're in that kind of thick of summer where it's very hot and very humid. As we head into the early part of our evening, still into the 20s, feeling into the upper 20s, low 30s. And for the kiddos heading to camp tomorrow, lots of sunshine and a UV index on the higher side. So sun protection is key. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, and we'll talk about the return of sunshine as we head in towards the middle of the week. Your forecast coming up.
Welcome back, everybody. We've got Nathan Phillips Square behind us. It's so interesting seeing on the weekend how busy it can be, and then it clears out, and then it's busy again. And right now, just some folks enjoying the beautiful weather while we have it.
It's the weekend was not a wash or anything. There's a lot of nice days. So many events. Glad to see that they went really well.
Yes.
But yeah, we're not in the clear this week fully.
It's so hot and so humid. It's that perfect recipe for pop-up showers. And we're in that time of the summer where it's hot and it's so humid and you want to spend time outside, but you have to account for pop-up showers. Not a wash by any means, as Michelle mentioned, and that continues throughout the day today. So if you have outdoor plans and you're going west or east of the city, keep in mind you'll need your umbrella, but not the entire time. Weather is brought to you by the Prowser Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. A bit of a cloudier start to the day, but not a wash, again, by any means. We're into that thick of the summer season where we have those hot and humid starts to the day. Some people love them, some people hate them. If you have activities that you want to do, maybe do them earlier in the day or later in the evening to avoid all of that heat. But overall, not a bad start to the week. We are watching a line of showers kind of bookending us here in the GTA. We're not out of the woods when it comes to rain, but the bulk of it not landing in the downtown core. Temperature-wise, we're at 24 in Windsor, 25 here in the city, 23 in Kingston, but it feels into the 30s. It's a very humid day out there, and again, we have that perfect recipe of all that humidity bubbling up to create the chance of some pop-up showers. As we head into our afternoon, again, we'll see a daytime high right around 28, so just above the seasonal point, but you factor in that feels-like temperature, and it's sticky. So if you work outside, you have kids at camp, lots of hydration is going to be necessary. Into your evening, just above that seasonal point at 18 here in the city, the bulk of that shower activity pushing its way a little further east, and we have a beautiful day on tap tomorrow. Again, watching that line of showers, a little heavier, again, areas west of us, so right around kind of that, I'd say kind of west end, south end of Lake Ontario. For the GTA, again, the downtown core, the bulk of the rain is going to escape us. Into the early afternoon, we'll see a little more sunshine as we head in towards that second half of our day. A clear evening for you. And as we head into the day tomorrow, high pressure returns and a whole lot of sunshine out there. So a beautiful day, a very high UV index. We even have a high UV index today. Don't let that cloud cover fool you. You still need sun protection and lots of hydration. Into your Wednesday, again, spotty showers in and around the GTA, but the bulk of the heavier showers midweek is going to be areas just a little bit further east of us. As we make our way in towards the afternoon today, again, just above that seasonal point, we're kind of seasonally closer to about 26.7 degrees, give or take. As we head into the afternoon, that 28 will feel much warmer than that. And again, despite not having a brilliantly blue sky all day, we still have a very high UV index. So get out, enjoy your summer, but just do it safely. Heading into the day tomorrow, a whole lot of sunshine, again, feeling into the 30s. So it is going to be a very humid week ahead of us. Getting into your Wednesday, Thursday, spotty showers expected once again. Looking ahead to the weekend for the Indy, maybe you're going to take in a couple of the races. Temperature-wise, not bad, and we're looking at a beautiful weekend. These are those summer weekends you really kind of bank on, right, with lots of sunshine out there. Into your Friday, Saturday, into that mid-20s, feeling into the upper 20s, so right in that sweet spot to be outside without it being oppressively hot. The chance of some spotty showers on Sunday, but overall, it is a pretty solid summer week from start to finish. Hopefully this helps you plan. Andrea, I'll send things back over to you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
The Blue Jays will be looking to get back in the win column when they begin a 4-game series with the Boston Red Sox tonight.
He's 0-1 on the ground, through, and the Phillies win the game.
Yeah, heartbreaker. The Jays lost to the Philadelphia Phillies in extra innings again yesterday afternoon. Toronto remains 3.5 games out of the final playoff spot with the opportunity to make ground against the Red Sox. Jamison Talon is set to start for the Jays tonight with the first pitch set for 7:05 at Rogers Center.
The Tempo will be looking to snap an 8-game losing streak when they continue their road trip against the Atlanta Dream tonight.
Morrow, offensive grab, and then puts it away.
The team lost 97-83 to the Portland Fire on Thursday. The Tempo won their last game back on July 12th and have fallen to 13th overall in the WNBA standings. Tip-off for tonight's game against the Dream set for 8 p.m. in Atlanta.
Still to come, getting paid to sleep. We'll have more on a new initiative that's paying off for U.S. university students when we come back. Welcome back. For young people trying to find ways to make a few bucks while you're in school can be a challenge, but University of Pittsburgh researchers just made it a whole lot easier for at least a few of their students.
Yeah, the students are getting paid to do, of all things, sleep. To find out why, we brought in CTV science and tech specialist Dan Riskin. Dan, I think we all want to sign up for this.
Absolutely.
I would pay to get more sleep.
Yeah,
to get paid to sleep, that's amazing.
Yeah, I know. When you're a student, you're just looking for ways to make a buck, and this is great. It's not a lot of bucks, but the reason they did this was to try to bring up scores on tests. And so we know that students don't have very good sleep habits, especially when they're starting university. And we know that sleep deprivation is correlated with bad grades. And so why not try? So what they did is they took a bunch of students, they gave them wrist monitors to see how much sleep they were getting. And they found that, yes, indeed, these students are not getting enough sleep. They're staying up till 1 or 2 in the morning often. They're not getting the recommended 7 hours, much less than half of weeknights. And so what they did is they split them into 2 groups. One group just kept wearing the wrist monitors and they kept observing how much sleep they were getting. The other group, they gave them a notice at bedtime and said, don't forget to go to bed. Then in the morning, they sent them another notice and said, you just got X number of hours of sleep. And if that X was more than 7 hours, they got $5.75 deposited in their bank account right there and then. So this worked. Not only were the students getting more sleep, their grades started to go up. And so, in terms of how much money goes into getting those grades up, it's one of the most effective programs ever been tried to get grades up. So I don't know. I'm thinking about my 14-year-old and his bad sleep habits. I'm wondering if maybe we can, $5.75 isn't that much money. Maybe he'd go for it.
But it adds up.
I bet. But he's a rebel, so I don't think I'd be paying out very often.
I have to up the amount.
Okay, so your next story will hit home for a lot of viewers. Now, we all know that social media algorithms are problematic. I know mine certainly is. Now, researchers are saying that there are other algorithms that might be less harmful, but there's also a big barrier to that implementation.
Yeah, so what they did is they tried out a bunch of other algorithms on a test group. So first they had some people look at some materials and vote on how much they liked stuff, so they knew what was popular and what wasn't. Then they showed it to a group of people, and they tried different algorithms. Some people saw like, you know, if they were left-leaning, they saw the stuff that was most popular with left-leaning people.
Right.
That's what your algorithms do now, right? That's what Facebook does. That's what Instagram does, all these different social media groups. But they also tried other things, like, how about I show what is most popular with everybody, regardless of political leaning? Or how about we just show random stuff? Or how about we show the stuff that's popular with people on the other side of the spectrum? Maybe something will happen. And what they found is all those other algorithms worked better in terms of people being informed, being less polarized. Like, it was better for them in terms of getting the information, but they liked it less. People really preferred the one that reinforced their beliefs, the ones where you can look and say, oh, aren't those people on the other side of the political spectrum, aren't they idiots? Oh, I hate them. And the stuff that makes you get inflamed and gets you worked up is more popular, even though it doesn't give you as much information. And so it just really drives home why this is a big problem, and the barrier that the companies have, because if they make a social media program that isn't as fun and people don't like as much, it's not going to sell the way the other ones do. So it's very hard. They're stuck.
Remember when the world didn't have social media algorithms?
Barely.
It was a lot easier, yeah.
It was.
Okay, finally, let's talk about ergonomics in the office, you know, where your chair is, your desk. Apparently, ergonomics can affect your personality at work. How so?
You know when they tell you, like, stand straight and feel confident, you will be confident?
Okay.
Well, when you're sitting at your desk and you're looking at your monitor like this, or you're looking at your monitor like this, it changes your posture. Maybe that changes how people feel and how they behave. And lo and behold, they found evidence for it. They had people playing a video game, and the people who had the monitor down here and had to slouch to play it were less brave than the people who had the monitor up here, and they were taking more risks in the video game if the monitor was higher up, because they were forced to have that upright stature. So think about how your desk is set up at work, and think about how that's affecting your personality.
I love that. You know, this is funny because years ago, Ken Shaw, who used to anchor the news, he had the worst posture. I think he'd allow me to say this. And he had this chair that he would slouch into. This is why we have these chairs now. They make us sit up straight.
Yeah. Right. My mother always says, stand up straight. All my life, she's drilled that into me, and now I do yoga, so it's much easier.
There you go. Well, you do both have excellent posture, of course. That's part of why you're so great at your job.
Namaste.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Well, still to come, Air Canada has announced it'll further delay flights to Dubai and Tel Aviv. We'll have those details when we come back.
Air Canada has announced it will further delay flights to Dubai and Tel Aviv until January of 2027. The latest travel update comes after Air Canada first canceled flights to both destinations in February when the U.S. and Israel's war with Iran started. Service to Dubai was expected to resume in October, with flights now being pushed to mid-January as uncertainty from the war continues to affect air travel in the region. Air Canada is expected to resume service to Tel Aviv around the same time. The airline says Canadians with scheduled trips to the Middle East may be able to rebook to a later date without paying additional fees and change their destination or cancel their trip for a travel credit, depending on circumstances.
Jury selection begins today in the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur, which has remained unresolved for decades. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is accused of killing Shakur in Las Vegas in 1996. He faces one count of murder with a deadly weapon with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang. Shakur was 25 years old at the time of his death, which has been the subject of debate for years.
Coming up, you can never have enough friends. So we'll have more on an event in Ottawa aimed at helping people create connections. That story when we come back. An Ottawa tattoo artist hosted a unique outdoor event over the weekend with the goal of making friends.
CTV's Camille Wilson has more on his initiative focused on bringing his community together and creating connection.
I didn't think this many people would come.
Local tattoo artist Nico Winter is trying something new to bring his community together.
I posted a video on Instagram like 2 weeks ago, and I've never been to a run club. I've never been to a poetry reading thing.
Posting a video online saying he was looking for friends, stepping out of his comfort zone.
I think it'd be really cute if we do like a poetry reading thing. I've always written and played music and done poetry and stuff, but I've never expressed it outwardly anywhere. And same thing with running. Like, I've always kind of done it like in secret a little bit.
Let's go. Putting together his first Slow Sunday event for anyone looking to join him for a morning run, poetry, and a picnic.
It's hard to talk. It's hard to chat with people. So when you put yourself in those positions, then you just get better at them, right? If you avoid them, you won't get better at chatting.
A big turnout Sunday with about 150 people from experienced to beginner runners.
I'm a little bit scared, but I guess I can run slow, and I hope to find people that run slow as well, and also to get tips from people that have been running for a much longer time.
Winter was worried when he realized he needed a permit from the city to host an event in a park, but the Akora Center came to the rescue.
I saw a video that said he's not getting the permit to host this event, which is when I texted and I was like, we have space, come here.
Ending the morning with local poets and storytellers sharing their work.
I'm so proud of everyone that's going to come up and that it's going to be their first time speaking.
Nice to meet you guys.
The mission behind the event, to make friends.
I thought it was a great opportunity to meet some of my neighbors. I think nowadays it's getting difficult to kind of break the ice, meet new people, meet your neighbors.
Just building community, and, you know, especially with social media, like, it's so toxic and consuming.
Camille Wilson, CTV News.
Oh, love it. Making new friends. We got friends here today.
Absolutely.
And who cares if it rains?
You know, a little rain never hurt nobody, and the gardens always need it. The next couple of days, it's hot and very humid, but it is going to be so nice. We are in kind of that last stretch of summer because the CNE begins on the 21st, I believe, and that's always kind of like that, oh no, summer is over, but we still have lots of time left, so don't worry just yet. Spotty showers just south of us, so just keep that in mind if you're traveling anywhere towards, say, Hamilton, through Niagara, but we are staying relatively clear in the downtown core with the chance of maybe a spotty shower. So get out and enjoy it, but hydrate. So looking at those severe thunderstorm watches areas just kind of east of us. Again, if you're going west or east, just keep that in mind. Temperature-wise, though, not bad at the base temperature, but you factor in that humidex, and it is sticky out there. Getting into the day tomorrow, lots of sunshine, that 28 feeling again into that low 30 range. And then we're honestly fairly seasonal. Looking ahead to the weekend with the Indy on the way, it'll be pretty nice. If you're getting out to go watch the races, it'll be great. So I'll send things back over to you guys.
Thank you. Well, that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a wonderful afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Andrea Case. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.